So faking it to make it has been a thing that's been out there for decades. And yet, for us Christian entrepreneurs and business owners, it produces a conflict. Because Proverbs 13:7 says, one person pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. And it's really interesting. One of the richest South Africans I know, if you were to wander past him in the mall, you'd go average George or average Stefan in this case. And yet he's got wealth that's bigger than pretty much anybody in the country will ever see in their life. And his wife buys his clothes from Woolworths, which if you're in America is just a middle of the range high street brand with no designer labels or whatever else. And it plays out for me that fake it to make it. If we want God's love, God's support, God's favor, maybe that's not doing us the favor that we want it to be. So Thabiso, you're with us, and you said you've got more questions than answers.
I'm so challenged by this, and I must be honest with you, Rob, because I find that in certain areas in my life and in what I do, I actually fake it to make it. And my belief in the faking to make it is Tubbs, fake it and do it so well that it produces that hunger within you to actually be able to make it, that it produces that hunger within you to actually push harder and to reach your destination and your goal. Because for me, it's almost a thought of, hey, I'm in a way placing myself in a place where I can manifest this, and that is why I am faking to make it, you know. So it challenged me in a sense where I felt God as actually challenging me in, and it's something, or it's a verse that we've also spoken about, 2 Peter 3 verse 8, where God says he operates outside of time. And it's just a matter of, can I say, a matter of me being ready to get those things, and I don't have to fake it until I make it. So it is, oh man, Rob, I must say, when you sent me this, it challenged me. It challenged me so much. And the question that I actually had for you is, where do you feel a lot of business people and business owners are faking to make it, and it's not in a good way?
So I think there's a lot of people driving cars, having websites, having houses, having fancy clothes, whatever else, and giving off an illusion of real wealth, and yet it isn't actually present. When you actually like lift up the lid and look actually what's actually underneath, and it's not actually present. And I'll be honest, I've been guilty of it. Right? There's
same here. No, honestly, same here. Yeah.
No, there's no two ways about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of it's human nature, but part of it's avoidance. Because the one question that runs through my head daily is, if Jesus was sat in my seat for the next hour, what would Jesus do? He probably would make an Instagram video or a TikTok video, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would help inspire the world, educate the world, entertain the world, whatever it may well be. I mean, he was a clever guy, and he'd be daft not to with what's available to us today. But I don't think he would take people on, take people up the garden path with something that he probably isn't. Now, I think that we're impatient, and that what we actually do is show the world a version of us that is shinier than what we can actually sustain.
Mm. Mm.
And yet we can probably sustain what we've got today if we just put it off for 6 or 12 months and be like Jesus.
I love that. And it's something, as you say that, it's something that you've said to me over and over again, is that, the lifestyle that you want, or the life that you want, if you can be disciplined enough for a certain period of time, you can actually have that lifestyle without actually even having to fake it. It's just your discipline has to be on key for that time period to say, okay, cool, I'm going to put off anything that I would have wanted. Let's say, for instance, I wanted a Mustang now, maybe buy it 2 years from now, then you know that you can maybe have the Mustang and have your double-story house. And for me, when and the notes that I made here is, what it challenged me on is, where does my true wealth then lie? In people, in my clients, and in my staff. And I think there is where my true wealth should lie, so that I can focus my attention on that rather than the wealth of material stuff, which puts me in a place of faking it to make it. So for me, the discipleship that you're talking about taps into that as well, taps into the true wealth of having good relationships with people. And I value that so much. Of having good relationships with clients. I value that so much. And knowing that whoever is working with me, and I hate saying for me, but whoever's working with me, that we can have a good relationship, and that can be wealth. And that can actually even get me to a place where I don't have to fake it to make it, where just literally, because there's such a blessing on that, where things just start happening.
It's a slippery slope, right? So where greed actually starts to play out as unsustainable. So, this isn't for today, but Proverbs 22:7 is about becoming a slave to the lender. And there's almost a Moses challenge, an Israelites challenge there. And so many of us are so goal orientated to have today what we really don't deserve till tomorrow, that we often end up financing stuff that's way beyond what it is we can sustain, and letting the world believe some stuff that's not true about us. But if we were to go back and say, okay, so one person pretends to be rich, right? So what can we actually show the world without where we can be rich? So as opposed to pretending to be, so for many people, the pretending to be rich thing is all about money and how they spend it, on what. But if you then go and take that and go, well, actually, how can I go to the world and be rich? Because if you be rich, money will follow. And you think about that, there's the generosity of the time you give others, which we spoke about earlier, actually. But there's the attitude we carry, the energy we carry, the welcoming people into our home for even when we're not too sure how we're going to feed them, and or just welcoming people into our home. There's a generosity, and there's more richness to us than just money.
Sure.
And when we embrace that and we put that on the table, I think that people buy into that actually in a way, and probably the clients you really want to will buy really into that. It's interesting. I've got a number of clients who've been burnt by rich coaches who didn't actually give them what they deserved, and so they still, now they're poorer. And I think this challenges us to be realistic with where we are as human beings, who we are, but also to be present with the Lord now, in this minute and in this second. We say the truth will set us free. Pretending to be rich there's no truth in that.
100%.
And so what are we really fearing? Why are we motivated to look rich or seem rich or say that we're rich, pretend that we're rich? What's the fear that's driving that?
I love this topic so much, because it challenges me so much, in a sense where, and I'm speaking here for myself, in a sense where the workplace where I'm at, right, being a jacaranda FM, being a public figure, everybody has this whole concept of, this guy is loaded, he's so rich, and he has money flying in and out like nobody's business. And I guess this is what the world and culture has also implanted in people, is that people who are in these high places, they actually have money. So what then Thabiso starts doing is you actually starts chasing that, where you can actually be so content and trust in God's provision in that season, because it's mainly just so that people can see. It's not even really for me. It's just so that I have to uphold the standard that people have in their minds of me. And it's toxic. It's so toxic. And I think with this, like I said, I love this verse, and I have so many questions, and I have so many questions for God about this verse, and to really purify me when it comes to it, and to really allow me to believe that within Him I'm so wealthy. I don't need to be showing it. I'm so wealthy, And yeah,
It's really,
no,
it's
I
really
love
funny. I see people all over the place who are highly leveraged in terms of debt that they're carrying, or monthly expenditure that is like really hitting them. I mean, big time hitting them. I don't see those people living that happier a life in private. There's a whole load of fake it in public, but in private, I don't see happiness. I don't see anything sustainable being built. What I do see is a quick grab for the next amount of cash to finance the thing that the monster that's being built. And I don't see the very best version of them coming out consistently. And I know that there's a whole attitude of like sort of borrow your way and then have to rise to the bar, right? Like you like create all this and then rise to the bar to make it every month. That really doesn't do me any favors. And it's interesting with most clients who I start helping to get shot of debt, their businesses explode when they're not highly leveraged. There's less. They can truly access the creativity that God gave us and use it to go and grow with. And so I'm personally not a big fan of rise to the bar. Put your monthly expenditure so high to now you have to reach it, because all you do is focus on quick wins and quick gratification and quick amounts of money now. But quick stuff often doesn't lead to long-term sustainable stuff, and it leads to undue stress. And it's a bit like pouring fertilizers on crops because you're impatient for them to grow, as opposed to making good compost and good ground and letting them grow organically. The last one's sustainable for hundreds of years. And if you look at the Midwest in the US, that's just a big dust bowl now. There's literally thousands of square miles of land in the US that are getting close to unfarmable because there's no nutrients left in the soil because it's been overworked, over-fertilized, and over-pushed. What if, as a human being, we end up to that point in time where the seeds you put in the ground and sow no longer can grow? Ooh. We end up at that at a point in time.
Man. Oh man, no, like I said, this verse is just, and the more we dig into it, the more I'm feeling it, I must say.
Well, it was meant to be, so maybe go pray on it and maybe think about you and everybody else. Like, everybody is rich. It just might not be in the cash you want to measure in the bank balance yet, but everybody is rich. What if you brought all of your other riches to the table? Maybe the wealth might level up and follow it if the other stuff goes first.
Lekker.